The shiny Snake G350 is a compact portable PC case that just might be the perfect choice for your next LAN party rig, or it might have too many design quirks to even make your shortlist. It measures 345mm long, 212mm wide, and 285mm tall. It supports either Mini-ITX or Micro-ATX motherboards, CPU coolers up to 165mm in height, graphics cards up to 340mm in length, and both SFX and ATX power supplies up to 150mm long. The case doesn't come with any pre-installed fans, but it can accommodate up to 5 120mm fans, 2 up top, 1 in the rear, and 2 in the bottom. That said, there are some caveats to fan placement we'll get into later. Liquid cooling enthusiasts, brace yourself. This case doesn't officially support radiators or AIOs. That said, you might be able to squeeze in a carefully selected 120mm AIO on the rear panel, but it's going to be a tight fit. There's mounting support for one 3.5-inch hard drive up to 25mm thick and one 2.5-inch SSD. Behind the right panel, you get plenty of space for cable management, but a limited number of dedicated tie-down points. Around back, there are 4 PCIe expansion slots to accommodate Micro-ATX boards and a power pass-through cable set up for the front-mounted PSU. The front I/O is located on the lower left side of the case and includes a power button, 2 USB 2.0 ports, 2 USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A ports, 1 USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type C port, and a headset combo jack. Construction-wise, the G350 is built from SECC powder-coated steel. The left side panel is a combo of tempered glass and steel mesh. The right side panel is solid steel, and the top and front panels, while not easily removable, are mostly ventilated steel mesh. Up top, there's a sturdy PU leather handle with what feels like a solid metal core bolted directly to the chassis for easy carrying, even filled with heavy components. Overall, the case feels solid and rugged enough for its portable design, though the tempered glass panel is definitely the weak point when it comes to travel. The shiny Snake G350 comes in black or white, has an MSRP of $110, but at the time of filming is available for $99 on Amazon. I've included a link below if you want to check current pricing. To test the G350, I built 2 different systems, each representing a different form factor and price point. My standard case test system uses a Micro-ATX motherboard, an ATX power supply, a tower air cooler, and a triple slot graphics card. And let me tell you, this build definitely pushed the G350 to its limits. First build note, the top fan mounts to a removable bracket using the included long fan screws, similar to how you'd mount fans to a radiator, but they have to be installed from inside the case, which means you need to install the top fans before the motherboard goes in. This makes reaching the top motherboard connectors, especially the EPS power connector, pretty difficult. To save yourself some frustration, plug in your cables before lowering the board into place, or hold off on installing the CPU cooler until the board and cables are all set. You'll also want to install the motherboard before installing an ATX power supply. If not, it's a really tight fit and you risk damaging the board while wrestling things into place. The PSU mounts horizontally to a removable bracket with the exhaust side facing the left panel, venting through the mesh. That setup works fine, but things start getting tricky with bottom fan placement. The G350 includes mounting points for bottom intake fans. Most modern GPUs, especially triple slot ones, take up so much space that adding fans there can actually hurt airflow instead of helping it. My triple slot card mounted in the top PCI slot came within just a few millimeters of touching bottom mounted fans. If intake fans are mounted too close, less than 20 millimeters from the GPU, they can cause airflow turbulence, pressure collisions, and dead zones that actually starve the GPU of fresh air while increasing overall noise. Ideally, you want at least 20 millimeters clearance between the GPU and any bottom-mounted fans, with 30 millimeters being even better. I do have 15mm slim fans, but even those would only give me about 13mm of clearance, not enough to make a real difference. Not that it mattered for this particular build. The first by 16 PCI slot on my motherboard is actually in the second expansion slot position because the M.2 NVMe slot occupies the first one, a pretty common layout on budget AM4 and AM5 Micro-ATX boards. As a result, my GPU sat even lower, coming within a few millimeters of the bottom of the case itself. So second build note, avoid the MSI, ASRock, and Gigabyte boards configured this way for this case. This GPU placement led to another complication. The bottom I/O panel blocked me from installing the graphics card. Luckily, Shiny Snake seems to have anticipated this because the bottom I/O assembly is fully removable. Problem solved, but sort of. Now we've got cable management issues. I can't plug in the I/O cables to the motherboard after installing the GPU. They're physically blocked, but plugging them in first means the cables are now sandwiched under the graphics card and in danger of getting caught in the fans. To fix this, I routed all the cables along the front edge of the case and around to the motherboard connectors. That kept most everything clear of the GPU and fans except the USB-C cable. It just wasn't long enough to route cleanly out of the way. Thankfully, it's a flat cable and didn't interfere with the fan operation in this setup, but if I'd used a slimmer graphics card and managed to fit slim bottom fans, that cable would have been a problem. In the end, everything did fit. I cleaned up the cable clutter with some zip ties and buttoned up the case. As for performance, well, that's a bit of a mixed bag. But before we get into that, let's take a look at a Mini-ITX build inside the G350. Now, I'd love to say the Mini-ITX build was much easier, and in some ways it was. The smaller motherboard definitely fits into the case with less of a struggle. I used an SFX power supply and a dual slot graphics card that installs into the top two PCIe expansion slots, which actually gives enough clearance to make bottom fan placement possible. Unfortunately, the front I/O panel cables caused even more of a headache in this setup. With the shorter Mini-ITX board, all the I/O headers are located along the rear edge of the board, and that made routing situation tricky. The cables just weren't long enough to make a clean bend up to the front of the case and then run along the motherboard to the rear headers. So ultimately, I had to route them straight across the floor of the case. I mean, that worked, but it meant sacrificing one of the bottom fan positions. And speaking of bottom fans, I discovered something annoying. Despite the entire floor of the case having ventilation holes, the actual screw mounts for the fans only line up in one position. At least for the rear fan, that mounting position partially blocks the fan over solid steel, about a third of it. And during testing, I found that fan didn't do anything helpful for thermals. It just made more noise, so I ended up pulling it out completely. Speaking of temps, let's take a look at how the G350 actually performs. Starting with my standard Micro-ATX system, I compared in-case temperatures to an open-air test bench setup. Each scenario was averaged over 3 20-minute gaming sessions. In a well-performing case, CPU and VRM temps should drop by a few degrees compared to open air, thanks to directed airflow, pulling heat out and feeding cool air in. GPU temps, on the other hand, typically rise slightly, maybe a degree or two, since most graphics cards dump heat on all directions, and compact cases tend to reflect and recirculate some of that warm air. Unfortunately, a perfect storm of design limitations came together in this case, resulting in some of the worst performance I've seen. GPU temps inside the G350 jumped by nearly 14 degrees centigrade compared to the open air test bench. That's a huge delta. With the triple slot card nearly pressed up against the bottom of the case, each GPU fan only had a small section of the bottom ventilation pattern to pull air through. That airflow was further restricted by the case's low clearance, just about a centimeter gap underneath, which severely limited the intake of fresh, cool air. On top of that, I'm pretty certain there was a significant amount of hot air being reflected off the side panel and recirculated back through the GPU, compounding the thermal issues even more. The CPU didn't fare much better. It saw a delta temp increase of 6.4 C. The tower cooler sat right behind the power supply, boxed in into a tight space. I tried running top front fan as an intake to get fresh air directly into the cooler. That did help slightly, but I experimented with multiple top and rear fan configurations, and the intake exhaust combo, front in, rear out, gave the best CPU temps. Unfortunately, That layout didn't help the VRMs, which saw a 5.7 degree increase inside the case. Generally, even warm air blowing over the VRM heat sinks is enough to bring their temps down, but in this case, the fans sit too far forward of the VRM, and that combination of poor internal volume and limited airflow just didn't cut it. So yeah, stuffing the G350 with as much full-sized hardware as possible, while technically doable, isn't the best idea in terms of thermals. Downsizing the components in the ITX system made a noticeable difference. With more breathing room under the GPU, temps only rose by 4.2 degrees, much more in line with what I expect from a compact case with a solid side panel. Unfortunately, the CPU side was still restricted. Even with fewer obstructions, the CPU temp rose by 9 degrees and VRM temps increased by 6.1 degrees. Being able to mount a fan in the bottom front position right below the GPU's pass-through section probably would have helped here. That setup would have created positive pressure and sent a solid stream of air through the GPU and toward the CPU cooler. That's what I used in my recent Linux editing PC build in the Johnsbo D32 Pro, and it worked great, but in the G350, the I/O cables got in the way and made that setup impossible. On the bright side, the Mini-ITX build ran noticeably quieter. In the M-ATX setup, once the GPU hit 70 degrees Celsius, the RX 9070 XT fans ramped up fast and the system got extremely loud. But in the Mini-ITX build, actual GPU temps stayed in the mid-50s, so fan speed stayed low and the whole system was much quieter as a result. Ultimately, I do appreciate a portable case that allows for larger, more affordable components, especially since strict Mini-ITX builds can get pricey fast and often skew the price to performance ratio in the wrong direction. That said, I think Shiny Snake missed the mark in a few key areas with the G350. First, I've never really understood the logic of using a tempered glass panel on a case meant for portability. It adds unnecessary weight and brings a real risk of shattering during transport. A full mesh side panel would not only be more practical, it also could have opened up an airflow path directly to the CPU cooler. And while I do like the port selection on the front I/O, especially the inclusion of USB 2.0 ports, which are often missing on modern cases, it's undermined by the placement. The bottom mounted location led to serious cable management headaches and even interfered with fan installation. The restricted bottom ventilation pattern and poorly positioned fan mounts that partially block airflow were also disappointing. Even adding support for a 240mm AIO, possibly by increasing the case height by 25mm, could have given builders a much better cooling option. As it stands, tower air coolers are just too restricted to perform well in this chassis. So while the G350 does offer another solution for building a portable Micro-ATX or Mini-ITX system, I think there are better options out there, maybe even Shiny Snake's own G300. At first glance, it seems like a smarter design. It's got a full mesh side panel, and according to the user guide, it supports 240mm AIO. So if you want to see my full review of the G300 and find out if it solves the issues I ran into with its larger, heavier sibling, be sure to get subscribed. It's coming up soon. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. And if you want to support what I do here, check out the links below for current pricing, gear I use, and my other YouTube channels. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.